Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Today we're going to finish putting the Corolla's engine back together in an effort to stop the oil burning. A little disclaimer before we get started. Most of my videos, including this series, are just a guy working on stuff. If you're here for a quick and flawless step-by-step tutorial, you're going to be disappointed. I might actually make a catastrophic mistake or two. And unless you watch the video or even possibly the series to the very end, you might make that mistake too if you're using this as a tutorial. I hope you understand and I hope you enjoy the video regardless. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing back together. I'm going to start by cleaning all the cam contact points with acetone. I don't know if that's called an oil groove, but that shiny spot where oil comes in and keeps the cam lubricated. It's got a lot of varnish in there. Try to get all that out. Each one of these. I'm going to go over this twice. Once quick and dirty, and then with a fresh towel. The mounting surfaces. Then we'll clean the cams off. The side of these lobes, you can see that. Well, I guess the back side of all the lobes look a little varnished. Put a little oil on everything. Oh, I almost forgot the valve buckets. They need to go on first. Rub each of these with a little oil. Alright, sure the tops of those have oil all over them. All over the cam. Just gently set that in place. Trying to find the way it relaxes most. Line right there. Intake cam, nice and oily. Now we're going to turn the crank to the top dead center mark. We can without binding up the chain. There's a 0 right there. I don't know if you can see it. It's binding up. Hang on. So I need to hold the chain. Probably go back the other way a little bit. Yep, there it goes. Hear it break loose. Now I'll hold it. Bring it back to the 0. Alright, so now we're on the 0 mark. Now I just need to get the cam sprockets where they need to go. Okay, so here is the top dead center mark on this. Kind of lined up with that little keyway there. And the top dead center mark for the intake cam is right there. So you want to line up these top dead center marks with the bore axis. So the engine, as you see, is tilted back a little bit in this. So they need to be lined up like this. So we'll rotate that a little, which it's not going to like because it's pressing on the cams. And this might take a couple of goes. Oh wait, that might not be the top dead center mark. So there's another one over here. I'm going to have to double check this. Okay, there's a mark there and a mark there. And this mark goes all the way onto that other part of the sprocket. This mark is short. Let me double check on which is which. And the groove that runs all the way through to the other section of the sprocket actually faces the middle here, and the shorter groove is upright. That I just know I'm gonna have to jump tooth or two here. Am I going the right way? No, I'm going the wrong way. So I need to go backward. And the chain to go backwards so that when I rotate it, we'll be in the right position. So right now it's off. When that gets dropped, I think it'll still be a tooth off. Let's see. Jump one more tooth. Alright, now it's upright now. I'll push it in this place. Now let's go back a tooth. So let's get the other sprocket on. See if we can get them at the same relative. Let's get this back in here. I don't remember how I did this last time. I think I had the cam all the way in before I put the sprocket on. I'll try that again. No, I don't think that's right. Turn that, that'll be off. Remember this being quite so difficult. It does look right, but these are too close together. Did I just jump a tooth? I don't know. Oh no, that stinks. Okay, I think that's going to be right. I think when we tighten the caps down on the cams, these will both rotate into place and everything will be lined up. Got these all cleaned and lubed up. Being careful not to let these bolts scratch camshaft. Very careful. I'm gonna follow the tightening sequence. I think it's these two first, but you'll see. Coming another windy day. I don't know if it's supposed to storm today or what. Just hope I don't get pollen and grit all over these cams. Alright, how are we looking? Those marks are not lined up right. One of these should not be in one of these inside links while the other is on the outside link. They should both be on outside links at the same time. I think that's going to need to rotate one more click that way, and this can probably stay exactly where it is. I think even though it says this is supposed to be lined up with the bore axis, it's not exactly. I think it's slightly canted to the right there. I might be able to do this without taking anything out. I might be able to just work that sprocket off and get it back in place. There we go. Top dead center down there. top dead center right there. This one's canted slightly to the right, but they're both square in the middle of links. And it's just lined up. Just don't know, that's the thing. We're gonna go with that, because if I rotated this all the way to that link, it would not look like that picture. See how in this picture, that's kind of lined up with that screw hole? Nice and upright, but this one, so if you look at the bolt right there, that's definitely to the right of upright. I think that's what we've got. Because if we moved that over, that would no longer look to the right of upright. That would look a little to the left. All right, let's tighten it all down. So the camshaft bearing caps are tightened to 120 inch-pounds.
120 divided by 12 is 10.
10 foot-pounds. And the number 1 is tightened to 17 foot-pounds. And crank the wrench up to 17 and do these. Start with the middle one. All right, now let's do the sprocket, which is 40. Now let me see if I can remember how to torque this. I think Phoenix and Dad said you could actually take a spanner, put it on there, and take your torque wrench set to the right setting, and as long as you keep these at an exact 90-degree angle, you should be putting the right amount of torque on it. It seems like there would have to be a loss there. Not all the force is going to pull the wrench this way, some is going to push against it, but we'll just try. Gotta put my spanner back over here. Alright, so is that 40 pounds? Okay, that which I just showed you is not actually true. And the thing is, torque equals force times distance. So in order for this to stay true, the distance between, say, this line here on the torque wrench, which is the line I believe they actually used to measure this in the setup, to here, needs to always stay the same distance for these readings to be right. So if you put this on here at, say, a 90-degree angle, it being a longer spanner, we will take a quick measurement here. The actual measurement this needs to be is exactly 15 and an eighth maybe. And then if we reach out to the end of our spanner, we're a little short. So to make this right, we'd have to bring the spanner in a little bit closer than 90. But I forgot I had these crowfoot attachments, and the distance between here and here is so little that you can actually put these at a 90-degree angle, and it is almost exactly the same torque spec as if the socket were right on the square drive right there. So we'll just use this one with this at a 90-degree angle, if I can get it in there, and see if it's any different. That on the bolt. I can't get in there tight enough, so we're going to turn it just a little more. That's probably close enough. I think I just slightly over-torqued this though, actually. Alright, before I do anything else, I'm going to rotate the engine around a couple of times clockwise just to make sure nothing jumps or valves don't hit or whatever. What's that clicking noise? Oh, it's because there's slop in it. So since the tensioner is not in, which we'll do next, it's causing differentials in the slack and tension as it goes around. Let's get it all the way back around. Top dead center again. And see if we're still lined up. And we are. And nothing hit anything that I could tell. So, I think we can put the timing chain tensioner back in. Okay, here's the tensioner. Here's our kit. Now I just looked through here and it doesn't look like they've given us an O-ring for the timing chain tensioner. Looks like they give us everything else and more, but no O-ring for the tensioner. Look at this one. It's actually not that bad. When O-rings go bad, you know, they get totally flattened out. And this one still looks nice and round. And it's actually soft because I did it when I did the valve stem seals. So I think it'll be okay. We'll just wipe it off. Reset it. I'm gonna hold this little key in while I push it back in. There we go. And you're gonna hook that. That oil coming out of there. A little fresh oil on everything. Our nuts ready. Let's go put it back on. Now this only goes one way. So with the bigger point pointing toward the front, you'll know when you get it where the bolts are. And that's right. See if it slips in snug. It's hard to get past that O-ring, so that's a good sign that the O-ring is still doing its job. Yep. The nuts on there. The specs on these nuts are 80 inch-pounds, so between 6 and 7 pounds. Let me grab a smaller socket. Shoot. I thought there was a way to reach in there and release it, but the way I did it last time is you just turn the crank backward, and when you turn it backward it releases the catch and you'll hear it click, hopefully, and then when you turn it forward it'll be tight, and then you can kind of rock it backward and forward just to make sure that it doesn't get slack in the middle here, and it should be good. I'm just going to turn the crank forward just a hair. Now I'm going to turn it backward. Listen for a click. Go forward again. Sure. I don't know if it's released or not. Okay, so apparently I can press down on the pivot arm down there, if I can reach it, and if the tensioner has not reset, it will. And it has, because I can feel there's tension against that. So we're good. Now let's clean off any residue of the form in place gasket from the timing chain cover and any other residue on the head, and then we'll clean up the valve cover. Being careful not to scratch this. But at these spaces right here where the timing cover meets, there's going to be some extra sealant, so shouldn't be an issue. Going to pump a little oil on the cams. On this side and that side. find its way in all the cracks. Around the bearings. I'm going to clean the head where the valve cover gasket goes with acetone, starting with a dry towel everywhere here, just to get any wetness off. Now for the acetone, right in the middle here. Here's the valve cover before I clean it up if you want to see it just for documentation. It's interesting how there's like a few little clean spots on it in places. The valve cover gasket on here. Start with the middle. I'm going to clean my hands off. Just press that down everywhere. Now a couple of dabs of form-in-place gasket right there. That crack and that crack. Alright, now most of the touchy stuff is done. The head kit came with new rubber washers for the 2 center bolts, so I put those on. The rest of the bolts don't need washers. And this one right here is the long bolt. If you have a cover still on yours, which mine didn't even come with a cover by the time I got it, somebody had already taken it off. These are tightened to 89 inch-pounds, which is just over 7 foot-pounds. Where to put the Makita? Start with the middle. Even though there's probably really no tightening order with these, it's probably good to start in the middle and work your way to the ends. It's getting pretty tight. Haven't clicked yet. Making me a little nervous. There we go. Probably didn't tighten them enough last time. Okay, valve cover done. Now let's put the exhaust back together. Before I do that, I'm gonna spray the oxygen sensor with some of this mass airflow sensor cleaner. Just happens to be made by Berryman. No sponsorship. And I'm actually just gonna lay it down right there over the exhaust pipe. Start by just wetting it a little, hopefully soften it. Maybe some of that will go down in there and clean the cat. You know, that might not have done much, but it's better than nothing. And maybe when this thing gets hot, it'll burn the rest of that stuff out of there. I gotta actually get the pipe together before I can put this back in, because if you remember, is in the way of the bolts. Put the gasket on first. Put just a little touch of oil on those studs. One of these is chewed up. So this is the chewed up one that came out of the middle. Let's make it fairly easy to access. I'll put it over here on this side. Nicer one down here. Down here. 27 foot-pounds. Here's my 6-point. A deep well and an extension. Doesn't like that one. I'm just going to tighten it with vice grips, I guess. Use these needle nose vice grips, maybe. Obviously, I'm not recommending this. Ideally, you should go buy another nut, but I'm trying to make do. Might be a very bad idea. Now we got to get these bolts back in place. You go up in here through that hole right there. I cannot film. Okay, I just realized I needed to do that bolt first. Okay, got those bolts on. I'm gonna torque them to 46 pounds. And by the way, this is the setup that seemed to work best. Now it's time to put the O2 sensor back. And I think that's what this extra nut was for, which means I'm missing one. Now I found another nut that is similar, but the base is a little wider. So I have a feeling I've put one of the wrong ones on the exhaust manifold. That looks smaller. These all look like that might be the wrong one. Yep, I believe that was the deal. So the two with the smaller flange on there go on the oxygen sensor, and the bigger ones go on the exhaust manifold. Which you're not going to be able to see me put them on, but you get the idea. Alright, now I gotta try to remember how to get this shield under there. This goes over the CV axle. And the bottom part goes over that stud. Yep. So that goes right there. And this is the hard part. How do I get these bolts in there? What was this from? Okay. There's that brick. Let's see if we can put this engine mount back. Wow. Engine's got to come up a little bit. Not sure how I get some leverage on these down here. See what the torque's supposed to be on these. Passenger side, mount to frame, 40, 44, 40 pounds. That's actually not that much, but still more than I'm sure I'm exerting on it. Let me get a really long extension for that. I can probably use it underneath as well. Look at this baddie here. This is what you need to buy when you're doing a Honda crankshaft pulley and a 6 or 8 foot cheater. So I can definitely get some room down in there. That's a 40 already. See if I can come up from under these other ones. That's 40. Wow. I did all that with that tiny little wrench. That's amazing. And that's 40. I feel better having that engine mount back. And apparently, I didn't even need to remove it. So, if you're doing this, hopefully you're going to watch it all through before you even start. And you'll find out you don't need to remove this. As well as, I'm wondering if I even needed to remove the alternator. I know you didn't need to remove the washer fluids. Aside from the alternator and serpentine belt, all we got left is the air box and cleaner, exhaust shield, and the fuel injectors and the stuff to the VVT, variable valve timing, and then basically just hook up all the hoses and wires that we pulled apart. Did I say intake manifold? And the intake manifold. And the throttle body. I think half a day, including filming, should do it. Alright, the first thing I think we need to do is get the bottom end buttoned up. So this has been sitting open for a while, and I think the carport has been blown off with the blower over here, and it's likely it kicked up some nasties that might be gritty inside there. I don't know if it's a good idea, but I'm going to spray all this down with WD-40 to hopefully wash off some of the contaminants. I don't want to use a cleaner because I don't want to accidentally clean all the oil off the bearings and stuff, so I want to use something that's still a lubricant. And then I'm going to come back behind myself and squirt all this with some more oil, just in case. So I'm just going to squirt this on top of the bearings mostly, on the connecting rods. Let it drip down. The other one that's exposed here. I'll turn it around a little. Get to the other ones. I think that should be good. No chemical on here yet. Just getting the bulk of the garbage off. Get that out of the way. This is a very blunt scraper. It is very worn in. It's several years old, so it's not going to scratch or gouge. It's mineral spirits. Starting this hard for each place. Now, I don't know if this engine was supposed to originally have an oil pan gasket. I didn't even look it up, but I'm going to use the Toyota form-in-place gasket on this oil pan. And one of the reasons I'm starting with this today is so hopefully that'll all be cured sooner than later. We can get this thing cranked. I'm also going to clean on this oil pickup tube orifice here. Actually still has the gasket on it. I was wondering about that. But we got a new one of those. There it is. Tighten these to 80 inch-pounds. Let's see if the Toyota seal packing is still... Ugh. Get any out of there? It's definitely hard. Oh yeah, look at that, it worked. So that's been a week with one of these caulk saver tips on it. So we're good to go. Try not to put too much, but just enough. And I know it's not going to be perfect. And this stuff cures pretty quickly, so hopefully it doesn't start skinning over before I can get it under there. And this has a couple of studs that'll hopefully help line this up. Oh, there. Okay. There we go. Now I'm gonna start with one of the two nuts over the stud. Do the other nut. Now I'll do another corner. We're probably okay now. I'll just go around here and screw in all these bolts finger tight. We'll go back around and torque them to 80 inch-pounds. And I'm not going to worry about torquing these in the corner here. 80 inch-pounds is not a lot of torque. I'm just going to snug them. It feels good to me. Should we start in the middle? Does it really matter? It's umpteen gazillion of these, which is probably good. The more the better. Spread all that pressure around. Who else likes the satisfying click of a torque wrench? Or this kind of torque wrench that does click? Get this dust cover back on if I can figure out which way it goes. I don't remember. Yeah, let's go this way. So I guess this tucks into this hole right here. There it goes. Now we'll bolt back on this brace. I can't find the torque specs on this, but all the other engine mounts are like 44 foot-pounds, so I'm just gonna go with that. Feels right. One of these is a bolt. Before I torque those down, I'm going to go ahead and finger tighten the front ones as well. Bolt bag. Let's squirt a little oil on those. So I'm not even going to officially torque these. I think they're right at where they're supposed to be. Let's see if I can find the nut that goes to that. Let's get the exhaust manifold cover back on. Keep wanting to take that valve cover bolt off, don't I? There's some way down here. Tighten out the intake manifold. Let's get all these paper towels out of here before I forget them. Acetone. Okay, now here is the gasket that came on this. And here is the gasket that came with the kit. I'm wondering if this was meant for the ones that have a plastic manifold. I'm gonna have to reuse this gasket. I'm glad I was very careful with it. I just don't know which side was which, or if it even matters. I know this isn't the best idea because you don't want a manifold leak. Let me look it up really quick and see if I can find a gasket like this before I put this back on there. The Advance Auto in my backyard sent me out in the country to another store that was supposed to have the gasket. I think we'll pick up some new spark plugs while we're here too. Well, they didn't actually have the intake manifold gasket in stock, but I picked up some new spark plugs while I was there. I'm not going with Denso this time. Okay, it looks like we're stuck using this one unless we want to wait another week for another part. So, hopefully it's in good enough condition. I'm going to give it a very gentle cleaning, some of this mass airflow cleaner. Make sure everything's hooked up down here before I put a bunch of stuff in the way. I won't use the electric driver on these because they're only to be tightened to about 13.75 pounds or so. Look like 164 inch-pounds. Don't want to damage that aluminum. Start with the one in the middle. Feels pretty tight. Huh. The one from the bracket down here. So there's a ground that goes there, and a ground that goes here. I might need to wait until I do the fuel injectors for those. Yeah, that's not going to be in the way. We'll wait on that. What else do we need to hook up here? There's our throttle cable. Which one of these hoses can go ahead? It can go right there. It's definitely got a little gunk in there. Clean off the gasket. Hopefully we won't have any manifold or throttle body or intake leaks. This gasket actually looks really good. I think these are supposed to be torqued the same as the manifold, but I'm not sure. I actually can't find the torque specs in my book here, so hopefully this is right. Feels right. I mean, same size bolts going into the same type of material. Could be right. looks like this hose goes here, and this hose goes here. Now, where are these hoses? Here's the big radiator hose that goes here. Oh, here we go. There's a whole bunch of hoses down here. Wonder if they're routed the right way right now. Now this goes on top, so let's just imagine that goes there. Then if that goes there, we got all these hanging down here. Oh my goodness. Catch can. Catch can was to the PCV valve. So that's right here. I want to make sure everything's still routed the same way so nothing rubs. Now if that's there, where did this go? So what goes here? Might be stuff from the air box. Oh, here we go. Here's a hose. This is an obvious one. Goes there. There we go, right there. How would that have been routed? I'll put that on right there. Yeah, I think that's right. Got another little puzzle piece here. Oh, breather, duh. It goes from there. Put that there and then turn it out of the way so we get the fuel injectors on. That pretty much makes everything hose-wise accounted for. Okay, let's move on to the fuel injection and then hopefully things will start making more sense. So here's the fuel injection. I think our new kit came with new gaskets. Looks like we have these big seals that go like that, but we also have these little O-rings. There's like a little groove around the outside, like it has an O-ring. I think it does, but these look a little tight. I don't think that's the one. And it's odd that none of them are on there anymore if there were some. In the book it shows the grommet going on first and then the O-ring. Could that be possible? There's really not a groove or anything for these O-rings to sit in. They just go on there like that for real? Let's put it on the car and see how it feels. These spacers have to go in first. Oh no, that's probably, is that what it is? O-ring goes on there. We're supposed to take these completely apart. Alright, I did this wrong. So let's clean up these fuel injectors first. Get my hands getting clean. The O-rings go on the back of the fuel injectors. And the grommets go on the front. Let's see if we can get these in here one at a time. A fuel rail on here. Hopefully. Get this out of the way first. retorque that. There we go. Where does this one go? Oh, no wonder it won't fit. Probably got to go under here. Like that. Yep. Now, gotta get these all lined up at the same time. Oh, I think they are. Yep, I think everything went in place. Yes. I put 13-ish pounds on this too. Oh, so these two, I need to back those nuts off and put these two brackets under there. And before I put this in the way, I need to put back the VVTi filter and oh, I think I got a new O-ring for this, or a new washer. Is that? Might be. No, that washer didn't fit that, so I gotta go back to using the original. Clean this little filter out. I think the little filter just kind of snaps in here. Wipe off that hole. Make sure there's no grit around there to mess up the seal of this crush washer. This is another one of those I have no idea how tight it's supposed to be. I'm just gonna snug it. Hopefully that's good. This has an O-ring on it. I'm wondering if that's what this last O-ring is for. No, not the right size. So you're stuck with this one. On the plus side, it still feels supple and it's not flattened out. I don't know why, but put a little dab of oil on that O-ring. Back in. Somebody mentioned they were thankful they had an electric car and they didn't have to deal with all this because it was basically no maintenance. How do y'all feel about that? My concerns are you're completely at the mercy of the power grid, and in this day of cyber warfare, that could mean bad stuff. Now obviously, you know, if you turn off the electricity, gas pumps aren't going to work, but if gas stations and all have generators and they can somehow work around, I mean, you know, it's more plausible to run on gasoline if there's a power outage than to run on electricity. Now let's see, now I gotta loosen those and put those back on, causing myself all sorts of problems. It means I gotta retorque them, which is fine. Sure I don't clamp any of these under here. All above 2, 3. Nope. Yeah, just put that back on without actually putting the bracket on. Almost 14 pounds. Let's hook up the injectors. I can get this hose finished off. I gotta get this bolt off again to hook up the throttle bracket. Position sensor. Alternator. start by just shoving it in here. Okay, here we go. There we go. This is a copper stud there, so I don't want to over tighten that. Okay, let's do our spark plugs. It's supposed to be gapped at 0.043. Let's see how these come. So this is 0.040 and 0.045, so somewhere between these two. So I can get 040 through, can't get 045. So that's right. 040 through, not 045. Good. 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 And good. Adjust our wrench to 13 foot-pounds. I always get nervous torquing spark plugs. All right, trying to remember if these go in first or second. I think they actually go in before the rail. Yeah, you'd think I'd know, having done it so many times. So we'll go ahead and put these in. As you know, I don't even think I have all the bolts to these. Here's one I found down in the engine. Put it on the last one. It's less likely to be held down by the rail. I'll probably end up tapping these a little bigger and using new bolts. That one's not even going in anything. Well, I don't think that's the right size. Huh? And this one. Yeah, those aren't going to stay. Just going to go on first. Now, except for putting the skirting on underneath, I think we're ready to do the fluids. I don't know if I might wait on the skirting. Oh, I forgot the washer fluid reservoir. Let's go ahead and get some fluids in this. Some in the overflow. I'm actually going to fill this overflow up. All the way to the top. It has a little overflow of its own. Now I can't put the oil in it because I don't have an oil filter yet. I gotta go run get a oil filter. Got the oil filter, just bought a cheap CarQuest. This is not gonna be on there long. I am gonna go ahead and pre-fill it this time. I'm not very good at that. I don't know if I can get it off since the engine's not warm. I can go get my wrench. Oh, never mind. I just used 2 hands. Look at that. The media soaked up all the oil in there. Fill it up again. Hopefully. They gave me the wrong one. Oh no, they didn't. Whew. Some people are probably going to get upset because I'm mixing a couple of brands of oil here. It's about half a quart of Pennzoil, 530. It's all the same weight of oil, and I understand, I heard recently that the different additive packages can react with one another, but like I said, this isn't going to be in here for very many miles. Now here's some Kirkland 530. This is almost 3 quarts. So we should get all this in here. Just going to go with that for the moment, and we'll run it and top it off. Just get the reservoir back in here. Connection. I'm about to be late for a graduation party. I'm hoping I can take this car. I'm not going to top this off because there's a crack in it I have to fix now. Just going to add some because the window is covered in pollen. Make sure I have enough to get the window clean. Alright, I hope I did not forget anything. Just going to give the engine a look over, make sure nothing's missing, nothing's loose. It's probably not a good idea to rush like I'm rushing right now. Oh, there's a cap. Hook the battery back up and then bury the cable somewhere. Here it is. Ooh. Something's drawing on it right now. Sizzled. Okie doke. Well, I'm a little nervous. Get all this trash out of here. Brake fluid's good. I'm going to take some coolant with me. Oh, let's go ahead and look at the oil really quick, just see how far we got. Should be on the dipstick. And it is. So, will it start? Gonna turn it to run for a second. Here we go. Probably gonna have to put the battery charger on it. Come on. I wonder if I can squirt some starting fluid in it. By the time of this video editing, I already know why the Corolla won't start. However, I would still love to hear your theories of why the Corolla won't start, because I'm sure the comment section will be filled with a wealth of information for other people with all sorts of no start issues. All of the clues you need to troubleshoot this problem are in this video, and I'm sure there are some out there familiar with the Corolla who saw this no start coming. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching. Please comment below, and I hope to see y'all in the next one.